Right, a team from the LCK, Yamato, that I want to talk about. We've only touched on this in the past, mainly from like the BDD angle and like why don't they change the roster, etc. Bro, one of the things that's actually a bit brutal right now is the LCK went from being super fucking hard in the last two splits. Like I actually thought they did have a bunch of teams where like, fuck, whoever they send to international should be good. Mate, it's such a light fucking league now though. Like it's basically like a big three. And even then, Hanwha Life at the moment is behind the other two. Like if you think about it, if you go back to last split, like it was actually, people forget this, before T1 like cracked everyone off in the playoffs, it was actually fucking KT that was like getting way better. And then if you remember in winter and for the first half of the spring split, it was Nongshim was a fucking sort of really good, even D plus was good back then, right? Mate, KT Rollster has completely fucking imploded, bro. Like they just had this last week where they played both Gen G and T1, and fucking hell, this is just depressing, mate, because like even when they're in the game, you never believe they're going to close the game out. BDD will get leads or get farm, but like if you look at it, it's like he's not the player who's going to like hard 1v9 a game. Like he has to have help. And then, mate, this actual Gen G one was the backbreaker completely, because Gen G is looking beatable right now because they've just come back from the double international success. They've lost to T1. They clearly look a bit more burned out. Mate, you are not going to get a better game from Dokdam, who I'm not even a fan of, than in this fucking series, mate. He actually had one of the best games he's played for ages at this point. Basically, since he was in that FPX team and he would have the odd good game. Like, mate, I don't know what you can ever hope for, because at the moment KT is just literally irrelevant. Like in theory, that fourth spot is right there. Like you should be there competing for worlds and all, you know. Like, but at the moment they're just irrelevant. Like, what do you think's wrong with this team? What's the problem for you?
But I think they've done as much as they could. When I just look at this roster, it's like Peter, Jokdam, Perfect, Cuz. Like these are not players that should even like maybe Cuz in his best days. Could be one that breaches, into top 2, top 3, maybe. Because I've always looked at him as a player that just
he has a ceiling for sure. Yeah.
He's like his best has been when he's been allowed to play the 3 champions on rotation over and over again, because the rest of his team has just pulled so much attention, whether it's like T1 or KT. He's been good. But I look at this roster and I feel like all of the opportunities that they got in the previous split just came off the hand of like T1 not being ready, the other rosters having flaws, like D+ falling off. Because in the first split, D+ hit the ground running and they were up there. I think KT, in a strange way, I think that they have just capped out in terms of what these players should be capable of doing. Because I don't see a world where a player like Jokdam or Perfect suddenly breaks a new seeding. Because BDD is great, and there's a world, the conversation that always happens, like BDD should be on How Alive instead of Zeka. Like I can see that angle. I can see it.
Some LPL team. The thing is, the Peter guy. That's why. By the way, I actually low key love Yamato when people. It's always fucking support players, like that guy in the LPL, Mark. Bro, that even sounds like you're just a character from The Office. Like, what are you doing there in a pro game? Like everyone else, like Kerry at Gumayushi, like. I'm Peter. It's like you even sound like a temporary fill-in, like the replacement teacher or something. Like these guys fucking suck. They're at best average. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why these guys. How do these guys get in pro play? Like how is this Peter guy in this fucking team, bro? What are we doing right now? This is nuts.
Peter's
just eating his tits off too.
Well, he's had like better moments than the past, but that's not like the metric we're going by. It's like Peter being better than he was last year or the year before when he was not playing like in the LCK and he was in and out. That's not a metric that gets me excited. I just think that this KT roster, like at least with the other teams, when it comes to the other ones, I feel like they have movability in terms of what their academy is. Because like they are very, very active. Like the other teams are very active and aggressive in terms of utilizing their academy teams, while KT just lost a lot of their talent to the other teams. So they don't have like super exciting players. I believe like Jiwoo is someone that they lent out, that is now base for like bench for right. Trigger. Like the other teams like BFX, they're like moving players in between their rosters. Bro 2, there is something that they can try out in hopes to maybe find like a new city. There's a world where KT as a team coming into next year, maybe they pick up some of these like performing players on the other teams. Like you can make a team with KT and Nongshim together and you add like Diablo to the mix, and then suddenly you have like a team that could maybe break into top 3. But I think any wins that KT, Nongshim, and D+ will ever get against the top 3 is going to be based on the idea that these guys have their own internal issues. They are playing like different levels of league. And now LCK, I feel like is finally shaping up to the point where, you know, these teams, Hanwha, T1, Gen.G, they have so much resistance against each other regionally that the improvement just almost has to happen. It's like you have so much resistance in the league that you can't get away with being bad. I'm happy that Gen.G lost because they shouldn't get away with shit. If we look back at the last split when T1 almost like won games against Gen.G when they still got 2-0'd, like those games that Gen.G kind of got away with. Having that resistance regionally is like the healthiest thing possible, but it also means that the top 3 teams will be sharper than ever in a regular split game because they need to be ready for the best. You look at G2, for example, last year. Like they came in regionally, and it's like there was no team that was like competing against them last year. So they just kind of fucked around, and there was no resistance. The same thing we see in LTA right now. It's like Flyke was in C9. I believe them to be the best teams in North America easily, but they're playing bad right now because of there's nothing that sharpens their steel in the league. So on the KT side, I think that they have achieved as much as they can. I think the roster is just tapped out.
I also think this Gen.G series, if no one watched it, you're going to look on League Media and go, 2-0 gives up. KT probably should have won both of these games. Like, the first one is beyond criminal, Yamato. It's like, it's one of those games where, for real, you could do the meme. You could literally see KT, like, pushing in the base and opening up the inhibs of Gen.G. Then you could go, I'll just put the kettle on. And if you came back, the game would be over, and you'd go, oh, KT must have won. What, Gen.G won? Like, because all they had to do was win, like, one fight around Dragon and win the whole game. That's another thing. I know what you mean, because I'll tell you what, this actually reminds me of when Gen.G was doing games last split, when it was the undefeated split. It's not they were never behind. They would just always win regardless, though. And if you ever give them an opening like that, this is the real problem with this. Is like, on the one hand, I want to give KT some props because they actually had some like early game players that were good, etc. But fuck, like, there's no way they would ever beat Gen.G in a best of 5, mate. Like, they couldn't close one of these games out. And even worse, they did that thing where they looked like slightly fucking... They look like in the team fights, people's brains just turn off, mate, which is the worst thing of all time. So, like, if you even watch the fight I'm talking about in game 1, for most of the fight, you'll actually think KT's going to win it and close the game out. But they do that thing that I hate where it's like you target select the wrong people, or one person's just hitting the tank the entire time with all of their abilities. Like, oh, it's brutal. Like, that's the thing. I know what you mean, because on paper, like, I don't expect much from this roster when I look at it. They certainly should never be on the level of a Gen.G, but somehow you're in that game, mate. You got to take that opportunity when it's there. Come on.
Oh, definitely. Like, this is the best you're gonna get. Like, you're not gonna get better than this. I think Gen.G is going to ramp up. Like as you alluded to, like this T1 Gen.G game is super hyped. This one is way more hyped than the previous one. Yeah, now it's removed from all of the question marks in the context, and T1 currently is looking like the best formed team in the world right now.
That reminds me, we forgot to mention this, which is one of the maddest details ever. How did we forget this, Yamato? It was on the last episode. Even though we are in, I'll actually check, we are in it's coming now to the 3rd week of the summer split, except now it's called rounds 3 to 5 of LCK. And Gen.G could actually just literally do nothing, Yamato, and lose every game because they're already qualified to Worlds, which is like, what? Like, even though I get it, the way the circuit works, there's something weird about that. Because in the past years, we all laughed at, like, you know, oh, Rogue's done in the summer. Well, Gen.G is already in Worlds. They could actually just in every game now. That just seems a bit bizarre, doesn't it? Like, that feels like, because the problem is, listen, Gen.G will keep trying to win and all of it, but I feel like you shouldn't, like, allow someone to know that they could just fuck around for 3 months, you know? Like, hopefully no one will be incentivized to do that, but that just feels a bit weird that you can, the same way you can be eliminated, like, in the LPL, like, goodbye, your year is over, and mate, like, now they say, oh, welcome, we just got to August, you don't have to do anything now. Like, that's a bit weird. What do you think of that?
I just don't get why... Like, why didn't they just reset? Like, what's the point? I don't know. It's just, the things that the LCK tried to achieve with the format seem so useless. Like, we only have one trophy, so we need to have everything be connected together. Or LCK Cup happens, so we're gonna disconnect that from everything. And Faker's playing his 1000 game now, not before in the LCK Cup. The metrics that they tried to achieve are just so silly. Like, I don't know. Like, someone came in, some old dude in the board was like, we need to do this. We cannot do it. So, but why? It's like nobody had the guts to ask why. They just did it. That's how it feels like. Because they could have easily just said, now it's this round. They qualified. There we go. This round. I like, because it's weird. Because it's like the only reason the score continues is because there wasn't a final. But there wasn't a final, which is the core problem. There wasn't a damn final. Oh, it just makes me angry to think about it. There's no final.
Do you know the other thing I've realised? Are you ready for some nightmare fuel, Yamato? Because at the time there was no final, we were all in the headspace of like, well, Gen G's the best anyway. It's just Gen G getting denied the win. Also, you know, like for the LCK Cup was hand of life, right? Here's the real nightmare fuel. Since T1's actually good now, Yamato, you do realise if they somehow win this split, that is technically the only LCK split. So their fans will get to be like, they're the best of all yet. They're going to do it, bro. And the worst thing is the format's going to make it look like they're right. That's the worst thing. So like at this point in time, because the problem is right now, T1 absolutely could win the split. Like, and you know those fans, mate, they'll be, no, who cares? They didn't care about LCK the Cup. They were just saving strats, all that shit. You know, who cares about first stand? They'll just do that bullshit, mate. Which is my least favourite fan angle.
Oh,
whereas before we needed it to be like, you didn't win winter, you didn't win spring, you didn't win MSI. We need to do that, you know. Whereas if they win the one LCK year, what can we say? They were the best, right?
Oh, I've wrestled with this so much because it's like if the format is that the top two teams within a double round robin, they are the only ones in the final. That's what it is. That's the format. Might not be great. True. I think the format is shit, but that was the final because that was the nature of it. So imagine there was no playoffs at all. Yes. Do the teams in the Premier League just sit? It's like, oh, there was no playoff. You know, we should play. You know, we should play matches here. No, nobody does it. There's no playoffs.
I'll give you the analogy. The analogy is more like UFC, Yamato. Oh, there might be a guy who's like the number 4 fighter in the rankings who might be able to be the champion, but he didn't fight in the title fight. The number 2 guy fights the title fight, and if he loses, the number 1 guy stays number 1. I think it's like that. I know what you mean. Even though in the format we can't say it was the final, it effectively was though, and everyone knows it was too. By the way. It's only the second T1 actually beat Hand of Life that we all went, wait a minute, could T1 have beat them? No one cared before that. 1 second before that, we all thought we saw the final bit, and it was Gen G versus Hand of Life. Come on, I know what you mean.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's weird. I think LCK needs to revise. I'm happy that we have this to the split though.
You know, I've realised though, this is what the problem, Yamato. Now it is making us look like we're just pure T1 haters and bitches. Because here's why. Because now we're counting like Gen G winning EWC, Gen G winning like unofficial finals. It just sounds like we're trying to like give them championships. You know what I mean?
No, it's like you. And the whole Harvey Dent line, you know, it's like you become the villain fighting the crime of misrepresenting history. But we keep ourselves, you know, clear. We've praised T1 because rightfully so, they deserve it. You know, they deserve it, and we keep history clean because it's important. You know, it's important.
I'm trying to think. Actually, wait there a second. There was actually a thing. I'm just trying to look up if I can find this tweet quickly. The problem is, it was the CS tournament over the weekend, boys. So I've tweeted 1 million times about CS, so I'd not be able to find it. I want to see if I can find it. There was some like LCK or LPL thing I want to find. I'll see if I can find it as we go anyway.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.